Hi and welcome back to Craig's World. My name's Craig, welcome to my madness. One of the videos you've seen a little Mx5 that I'm doing at the moment, and I'm nicknaming her Mouse for the only reason because I found the mouse nest in the boot. So that's why she's being called Mouse. But today, one of today's videos is going to be on the back panel, which this is where your registration goes, your back lights are here. On taking this off on the back, that's where the bulbs go. There's like metal carriers, and these are the remains of them carriers. So they bolt to the top. That's where the light goes, and they are on an angle, i.e. like that, but both of them are too badly damaged. So instead of, as you know me, instead of going and buying them and waiting, I can actually make them within an hour. And if you remember this little piece of steel, this is the steel I use for the repair on Tigger's alloy wheel. This is perfect. It's roughly the same thickness, and I'm not bothered, I don't have to cut it. All I'm going to do is cut them, bend, manipulate them, few drill holes to fit the back. I'll make them myself. So I'm going to put you on a time lapse and you'll see at least me drawing them out, cutting them, and then I'll show you how we bend them. Okay, so bracket. We're going to first start with them holes, because from there then you work down the metal and you can do it. So cut your steel. Obviously this was the right size. You just put it like that. And mark on the metal. So as you can see, there's two rough marks. And it is as simple as, I find it very easy when you are doing something like this on a bench. It's called a punch for a drill. So with the metal, when you put on, you're not going everywhere. You literally just put that straight on top of the hole and hit and hit. That's it. That's all you have to do. And if you, I don't think a camera can pick it up. Do you see how it's punched? Them little holes exactly where I put them on the mark. Then obviously you just get your drill, which on a wooden bench is not a problem. Simple as that. So there's the first two holes, which I know that lines up with this, so I know that they put them to it. A bang on. Now, yes, you've got little burrs on these. Yes, you can cut yourself, and in a moment, once I've finished making this the same as this, I will just clean all the burrs off, and then we'll make the hole where the lights go, so they can be fitted and you can see them actually when they're on. So you've got to follow the front back. So once we put this on, I'll turn it that way to see. So if I put that on there, I then have my first bend. And the other way you can do this, if you want to just do all the bends, you can put that to it, and then mark again, but I don't want to do that because I know it's slight when they bend slightly, it's you can end up short, so I always do it one step at a time. So you got your vise, and I can see where the bend is. I know then that has got to go over more than a 45. So just for the first one, in your vise, pull over. With a little help from a persuader, we then have this. And as you can see, it's still not quite right. If I can do that so you can see it. Still not quite right. So this has to go over further. And on my vise, you can only do it on a 45. This one, you can literally just do it by hand. Just use a bit of weight, a bit of force, until you get to the desired shape. Which, to be fair, that isn't a million miles off. We need a little bit more. There you go. That's how you bend a piece of metal that way. Now I know that that's correct. That's correct. I just have to bend this on the opposite direction. So we do the same again. We can, if you want, to put that into there and just allow a little bit further on, because what I mean by that, I'll have to show it you. If you can see inside there, you've got a little gap. So if you're going to do it this way, where the bend is, you're going to allow for that little gap. So I'm just going the same distance from there to there. I'm going to go from there to there. That way you know you're going to get it bang on. And I know it's coming back this way. So with a little ruler, 50mm. So that's the next bend. So now it's got to come over to me. And this is where you might get stuck, because sometimes the vices, it's not, the line is up here, there's a big gap. I always have the bench, so I know it's got to come to me. So transfer the markings onto the back. Next to there. Put that over exactly on the line. Hold your hand and bend. A little bit more. Yeah. Put them together. See how I've gone too far? Just as easy to go back the opposite way. That's tad. As you can see. Perfect. So then we do the same again, same procedure again. Line it up in the middle. We make the next little mark. And don't forget, these marks are going to get cut. So while this is on, it is just as easy to mark it while we're there. So we end up with something like that. And we know that these are my marks. So you can see now that we're nearly, only a couple of minutes in to make our, get it straight. There you go. It's this last little bend which has got to come this way, and you can do this in the vise because it's only tiny. There There you go, 2 pieces of steel. And actually while that's on there, I want to cut this first, but you can give it a little whack, as so. Do the same again, with a little punch. Always use goggles, don't forget, if you are grinding, you are touching anything with these. Protection, eye protection, ear protection if you wish, but I'm okay with the hearing side. I'm just going to change it to a sanding paddle, or sanding pad, just to take the burrs off. So there you go, they're all cleaned up. Oh, I've not done that drill part. There you go, 2 custom brackets from these rotten pieces. So I'm going to tidy it up slightly and I'll show you what they look like when they're on. Just give myself some room. As I said, that's the cover where your number plate will go, so the bolts are in here, get hidden, and these get hidden as well, so that makes no difference. But because mouse is going to have a really tiny small plate, I can fill these. As you can see, I've started on the top, and where that was the Mazda sign and the 1.8 injection was here. I'm going to just put some body filler in that, give it a sound because I don't want them there. So this is how they, let me get it lined up. So be easy showing you this way. So there's one, and there's 2. So like I said, I just have to put now these, mark them to see where they're going, so they will fit in. Okay, can't see it. So these will fit in there. So I'm just going to have a little think about this one. Dead easy, it's just making a square hole in it, but I need to see it from the other side. I'm only going to do it to one. Once I do one, it's just duplicated onto the other. So if I get it roughly in to there, where you can see it here now. So just take the pen. There you go. So now I've made, I know I can't go any further, that is, I can go towards, but I cannot go anywhere before that. So they've got to be angled a certain way. If they're angled like that, that's how you want it to go down on your number plate. If you do it that way, the bulb will be facing up. Can't see because they're all cloudy. Yeah, they have to be angled that way down. And the way you can see that, you can just see the bulb, because then the light will come down onto your number plate. So I know where they can go now. So it's not the entire thing you have to cut out. It's just this tiny little piece there. So we can make that square to fit this round to make a square hole. So if I just put that on lightly to make a template. You can make a little template out of paper if you wish, but I've done this long enough to know where to cut. I now have this is where I took the burrs off first. So there you go. So I now have that section needs to come out. So when that fits in, I can still put the screws behind, which will make little holes in that after they are after I've cut that out. So that should then just plop straight in. I should say plop, drop straight in, I should say. So I'm going to cut this now with my goggles. Yeah. Yes, I'm going to put this in the vise. It's just going to be much easier. And don't forget, that would have been very hot. So as you can see, we've now made the hole. Good thing about my workshop, everything's to hand. So what I want to do at the moment is just take what would be where it's being screwed into off. And on the normal ones, they're like a little square hole where these little plastic, I'll show you, they're like a little plastic square grommet. So when you screw them in, it flares out and makes it tighter. So us doing this, we're not having them on. We don't need them because we're screwing into that metal. They can just tap them straight. They'll tap themselves straight through. So taking the cover off, you now can see the bulb and how it will be. And that little reflection is where the light bounces back. So we are going to need that to go in through there. Push it through. And as you can see, I'll try and get you closer to this. As you can see, the square hole that we cut fits it perfect. And obviously I'm going to clean all these burrs off, but they are bang on to my marks. It wouldn't make any difference if there was little holes, which is just one there and one there. You can, makes no difference. You can move it around, angle it around, but the good thing about it being like that, you now can see the holes are where we need to drill. One, two. That's all we have to do. Now once we take this off, you now can see them holes. So we do the same procedure what we did with this and with them. You've got to always hit it with a punch, which is there. It's like a very big spike. Just a big punch. So as you can see, we just put it down. Normally for stuff like this, I'd use the back end of my axe. So as you can see on the opposite side, same again. You see how it's punched them through? So when you drill it, it's not going to be flaying everywhere. So while we have them, here. I'll just put one in and then we'll time lapse the others, but you can see exactly what I'm going on about. And as I mentioned, because of the screws, I make the hole just slightly smaller, because then what happens is the screw will find its own way and tap itself. So they're all fitted now. All in, and as I said behind, we don't need them plastic grommets because it's tapped itself through the metal. Now, I'll show you one of these in. I'll show the time lapse of me doing the other one, but what I will be doing, I've got an idea what I'll be painting. What I am going to be painting mouse, and this is the colour. This is just one of the things that I did. It's just covering the battery. Stuff like this, little attachments and little bits like this, I'm going to paint myself. The car, we're going to wrap it a very dark purple, and then all the subframe and everything underneath is going to be either green or yellow. But all the little incineries like these little touches, that's the colour they're going to be. So now we've done that, I'll pop one on just to show. So as you see, it lines up with the holes, and then underneath, as you can see, there's now the light. And then there's a little bit of plate which we can clean off, and that's what I'm going to spray that colour. So that is how simple it is. Just to make these brackets. Okay, so as I mentioned, I never throw anything away, and this was one of the little scraps that we did for doing the brackets. Yes, I've changed my mind. They was going to be green, they're now red, because all the bits are going to match, even the subframes, everything's going to match. Now, as I mentioned, there was 2 holes where the Mazda sign goes in. So this was one of the cut-offs from that bracket. So all I'm going to do, because I'm going to put some filler on the other side, just to make it stick, I'm going to put a little bit of glue, and then that little piece directly over the top of it. And the reason why, I'm just holding it for a second, and the reason why I'm doing this is when we fill from the other side with a tiny little bit of filler, there you go, solid. From a tiny little bit of filler, that has something now to bond to. It's not just going to push all the way through. So let me just put these to one side. So put them to one side, and you will see the 2 holes that we've been talking about. Don't matter if any of the glue gets on this side, I am not bothered, because I'm gonna extend that hole a little bit, to be fair. So a little hole with filler, you have the chance of it just popping out, but I'm gonna make it so it's same size as this. That way the filler has got something to grab onto. So we'll have a little lapse. Hi guys, you might have just seen, so I've just sanded the two little holes, which is nice and flat now, so when we do the wrap, it's not going to be a problem. Same on the back side, as I mentioned, you can just see the metal plate that we had to bond or glue it down. Now, the brackets that we made are these little brackets. These are the little brackets. Yes, I've changed the colour. It was going to be said green, but there'd be just too much. Considering these are going red, that's the colour. The subframe, the arms, suspension, everything is going to be powder coated that colour, apart from Mouse, because she's going to be wrapped a very deep purple. So these are going to match the theme. Same with the battery clip that was green. It's now red. I had a moment of clarity with it. Right, and here's another little classic example of what I say. Now, Bershka car boot, unbelievable. I love going to Bershka car boot, and I buy buckets, and I mean buckets of old screws, nuts, bolts. I've got buckets of them. You can pick them up for like £5 for a full bucket. You're never going to know when you might need something, especially when with these. So I've just gone through the bucket, I've just buffed them up, and I've just got two little screws. Two tiny little screws, which is what we're going to be putting in there. So, thank you, Bershka car boot. Okay guys, that's done my head in that. You'll understand why in a sec. Right, these lights with the wiring harness, I was saying it's on that side. I am correct in a way, but I forgot it was upside down. So when I fitted these, they're in the wrong way around. The wire was on the wrong side. So when you're looking at the back of Mouse, this would be like that. And the wiring needs to be on this side for it to go through the body. But I thought when it was upside down, little happy mistakes. So now we had to move these around. So the wiring harness now has to be this side. So we put our plates, which are back in, our little screws. Go back into the hole. There we go. And like I said, I will knit these up now, and I'll do the same with this one. Okay. Now another way was going to go through, but I want to do this to show you it first. Now, on the top we have these holes. These are where we've pre-drilled. They will fit straight up like that. Now the little clamps that we have, I can't say clamps, the little clips, the little plastic grommets. This goes in to hold where it needs to be, like that. Get another one. So this should just pop in, like that. And then what happens is we get this, it's still plastic, it's all plastic with a little head on it. And then when we screw them in, it will force the prongs, which are there, out. And they then hold whatever you want to put through. There. Okay, so you can see them now, where they all four are in, and these four little screws. Like I said, the little plastic screws. I'll go on, and I've got two of these left, which are bolting this to the body, so that can go back in its bag. And then we just tighten everything up, and it's just literally, you don't even have to be, don't over tighten them. They just need to be enough so it's placed. there we have it, as you can clearly see. All the 4 are in. Now when we turn it back around, you can see where, exactly like those, if I can get them a bit closer, where they then splay out. So now we can finish nipping them up. There you go. And that's it, our custom brackets. And for this it's done. All we have to do now is just the wiring, which it's just pushed through there, and then that is where the wiring goes through. So there you can see that is now, that then will go through to the body. That's your grommet to seal it. When it's in, it should be like that, and there's our clip to make it work. But just for now, I'm just going to put it out the way. I'm going to put a little gaffer tape just to do it. So that's it, that's the backside complete. So now we know when this gets its wrap, we now know that the lights work. So that's just the back number plate panel. So remember guys, on custom brackets what we've just made, or on mouse, you've got to work on it every day. Cheers guys, I'll see you soon.